It is perhaps the most iconic baseball park in America. The lush green ivy that covers the brick outfield wall, the manually operated scoreboard, the closeness of the fans to the field and the bleachers, and the red marquee sign that welcomes fans inside. It's a national historic landmark. It's none other than Chicago's Wrigley Field. In 1914, Charles Weigman built a ballpark on the north side of Chicago for his team, the Chicago Whales of the Federal League, called Weigman Park. The park was built for $250,000 and it could seat 14,000 fans. The Federal League was short-lived, however, and it folded after just 2 years. Weigman, along with a handful of other professionals, including the likes of William Wrigley Jr. of Wrigley Chewing Gum fame, purchased the Chicago Cubs and moved them from the west side to the north side. In 1918, Wrigley bought out Weigman, and by the next year, in 1919, he was the sole owner of the Cubs. He renamed the ballpark Cubs Park in 1920, just in time for opening day. The name would switch to Wrigley Field in 1926. Wrigley Field pioneered many practices that are commonplace in stadiums today. Weigman was the first to allow fans to keep foul balls that were hit into the stands. He was also the first to have refreshment booths behind the stands, cutting down on the number of vendors in the crowd. Wrigley also arranged for games to be broadcast, starting in 1925. In 1937, several iconic features were added to the stadium. The outfield bleachers, the manually operated 27-foot-high scoreboard that's still in use to this day, and the ivy first took root. Bill Veeck planted 350 Japanese bittersweet plants, and he had 200 Boston ivy plants too. He also planted 8 Chinese elm trees on the bleacher steps, but they fell victim to Lake Michigan's harsh winds. They don't call it the Windy City for nothing, you know. The Chicago Bears also called Wrigley Field home for nearly 50 years. They played there beginning in the 1921 season. The gridiron was laid out over the infield, extending into left field. Bleachers were then placed in right field. The Bears had their last game there in December of 1970, beating their rival, the Green Bay Packers, before moving to Soldier Field the next season. The first night game at Wrigley Field was August 8th, 1988. That's right, after 5,687 day games, the lights were finally turned on, with much fanfare. That game, however, was rained out after 3 innings. The first official night game was held the next night when the Cubs beat the New York Mets 6-4. Wrigley had actually planned for lights to be installed in 1941, but he donated them to the shipyard the day after Pearl Harbor instead. Cubs played day games. That was just part of their identity. But in the late 1980s, MLB threatened the Cubs with having to play any postseason games at Busch Stadium at their rival's place in St. Louis. So after 74 seasons, the Cubs finally played under the lights. They were the last big league stadium to install them. For many years, 72 seasons to be exact, the Cubs were synonymous with WGN. It was the longest TV partnership in baseball by a long shot. WGN first broadcast Cubs games in 1948, and they had exclusive rights to every game except the nationally broadcast ones until 2015, when the torch was passed to another station, now known as NBC Chicago. The access this provided to the Cubs across the country grew the fan base. They became America's favorite team. And commentators, Jack Brickhouse and Harry Carey, became beloved sports personalities. Likewise, WGN Radio was home for the Cubs until the team switched stations in 2014, ending a 90-year radio run. Another thing that helped endure this team into the hearts of Americans was their agonizingly long championship drought. You couldn't help but cheer for them and wonder perhaps if this might be the year. But it never was. Well, the Cubs actually won the World Series in back-to-back years, in 1907 and in 1908. But it would be a long time, 108 years in fact, until they brought back another World Series championship to Chicago in 2016. It was the longest drought in all of major North American sports. The Friendly Confines is the second oldest ballpark in the majors. Fenway gets that top honor, and it's the oldest standing National League ballpark. It's also interesting to note that the Chicago Cubs franchise is the only charter National League team that still plays in its original city. Wrigley Field has been the stage for some big baseball moments. With the game about to be postponed due to nightfall, Hall of Famer Gabby Hartnett hit his famous homer in the Gloamin' in September of 1938. Babe Ruth called that home run shot to the stands in the 1932 World Series, right here. Ernie Banks got his 500th homer here, and baseball fans got to watch beloved Cubs players over the years. Ron Santo, Billy Williams, Ryan Sandberg, Sammy Sosa, Greg Maddux, and Kerry Wood. And of course, the entire 2016 squad. What a fun group of players they were to watch. Baseball is America's game, and Wrigley Field is America's park. A rousing rendition of Take Me Out to the Ball Game during the 7th inning stretch, and belting the beloved Go Cubs Go as the W flag flies. Well, that's the stuff American summers are all about, especially in Chicago. Thanks for watching Memory Mountain. If you enjoyed this video, please click to subscribe to our channel and hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to tap the notification bell so you'll be one of the first to know when we post our next story looking back over the landscape of Americana.